Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Ellie, and this is Powerful Imperfection, where we talk about all things personal finance, debt payoff, and eventually financial independence, which is the ultimate goal for me. Today we're going to be talking about the February budget setup. I love setting up budgets. I am a nerd, so we'll just jump right into the February budget. The way I set up my budgets, I have a certain order of things that I like to check off before I jump right into the numbers. So the first thing that I like to take a look at are, what are my February goals? So I kind of sit down and decide maybe like 3 goals that I want to do for February to set myself up for success. So we'll jump into those goals. Okay, so the February financial goals. This week, or this month, is a 6-week expense month. So the budget is going to run from the 24th all the way to March 6th. So it's going to be quite a long month of expenses. So I need to remember to budget for that. And I explain how I create my budgets using past month income to fund the expenses of the current month. So January's income is paying for February's expenses. That is in a previous video, so you can check that out, and I'll link that video in the description. Also, I want to pick up some extra shifts so that my March income, which is going to be a 3 paycheck month, is as big as possible, so that hopefully I can pay off my next student loan with that income. So I want to make sure that I pick up some shifts that are extra so that my March income, which I earn in February, will be as big as possible. And then also some financial literacy goals. I want to read 2 more financial books. So those are my goals for February. And then the next task that I look at is my calendar to see if there's anything that I need to budget for that's coming up in the month of February. So let's take a look at the calendar. The calendar. So at the beginning of the year, I set up the calendar for the entire year, and I put important dates, birthdays, anniversaries, that sort of thing, so that I can highlight if there's something that I need to budget for extra money to be able to spend, or is there a day that I'm going to be able to pick up some extra income as well. So that is kind of this top area, are just important dates to consider. And then on the bottom, I put important financial things that are happening in that month. So such as tax returns or tax prep, my oil changes I put in here, when I'm going to do the 6 weeks of expenses, and when my 3 paycheck months are going to be. So I take a look at the calendar and see, is there anything that I need to budget for February? And Valentine's Day is coming up, so might want to add some extra money for that. My oil change, so that needs to be in my budget. 6 weeks of expenses, so I need to increase that. And then tax returns, I don't really budget the additional money from the tax returns because it just basically goes directly to my debt. So I just don't add it to my budget. Also, any kind of tax prep, that actually came from a sinking fund redo that I did. So that doesn't really need to be in my budget. So oil change and Valentine's Day, those are kind of the 2 big things, along with the 6 weeks of expenses. So once I kind of take a look at that, then I can jump right into the budget. Okay, so here is the February budget. I kind of just set up the general template, and then we can fill it in as we go here. So just as a reminder, 6 weeks of expenses. It's going to be a long month, so kind of budget for that. The paychecks, so the income that I'm going to be working off of is the income from January 10th and January 24th. So we will be filling this out. Okay, so February budget, the income that we're going to work off of, the actual income was $3,907.97 from my 2 jobs. I'm just going to make it an even number so that there's a little bit of wiggle room in the budget. So we're just going to say 3,900 even. So the things to consider with a 6 week of expenses, your monthly expenses are going to remain the same. So the rent is still going to be paid the same, and the electric, those are each month. So I don't need to add any kind of extra money to fund these two. The things that I do have to realize are the things that need to last me through the 6 weeks that are weekly expenses. So those are going to be the groceries, the car gas, and the laundry. So those are the ones that will really change. Everything else pretty well stays the same, whether it's a 4-week expense month or a 6-week expense month. So those are the only ones that you'll see a difference. So rent will remain the same at $950. The electric, I'm still going to budget $100. The groceries. So groceries, I budget $65 per week. So jumping into the calculator here, so 65 times 6 weeks, that's going to be $390. Don't know if you can see that on the calculator there, but $390 will cover 6 weeks of that expense at $65 per week. My car gas, I do $30 per week. So 30 times 6 is 180. The laundry, no budget is perfect. And whenever you have different expenses come into your life that you're not sure how to budget, you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace. Laundry is my area that I haven't been able to get perfect yet. It's only been a couple months that I've had to budget for laundry. So what I generally budget for laundry is $10 per week, and then I add $20 to that because $10 is too tight, but then the $20 seems too much. So I still haven't figured out a perfect amount for it. So $10 per week for 6 weeks, $60. Normally I would add $20 more to this. However, I had $30 left over from January. So I'm just going to use that, but I'm still going to budget $80 just because it is a long month. I just don't want to be too little in this. So I'm going to use the 30 from last month plus 80 and see where we get with that amount. So I might be over budgeting for laundry, but I can always take it off at the end. My oil change, I always budget 55, and that always seems to be too little because there's always going to be the filter or a light or something like that, but there's enough wiggle room in some of these numbers that I can usually absorb that cost. I also have a sinking fund that has about $1,000 in it for anything that car maintenance wise that I want to cover. So if it gets too crazy of a number, I can always pull from that sinking fund, but I try not to. So that total here, that total is going to be, just double check my math here, be $950 plus 100 plus 390 plus 180 plus 80 plus 55 $17.55. All right, so once we've covered our 4 walls, I go into the list of priorities. So my number 1 is charity. I do 5% to that. So that is $195 this month. My cell phone is always $22.50. Last month it was about 20 cents less than that. So I don't know what happened, but we'll still budget the $22.50 and see if it was just a correction or something. Otherwise, I'll adjust it for the future. My internet is on promotion still for $44.99. My student loan minimum is $556. I just paid off one of the loans, so my first loan of my second degree. And so I called them up to find out if that would lower my minimum auto payment. And they said that unless I requested to adjust it, then it wouldn't change. So it would still remain the same whether I had 2 loans with them or just 1. I didn't change it because it wasn't going to change anything for me. So that number didn't change, but just so I cover why I paid off a bill, but my minimums didn't change, that's why. And then my gym is $295. Still struggle with this one. I keep saying that I'm going to cut this expense by about half, but every time I go to the gym, I really like it. And so it's just one that I'm struggling to justify keeping and also justifying cutting. So that is still going to remain the same in my February budget. And then the miscellaneous, so back to that calendar, I identified I needed the oil change, and then Valentine's Day was coming up, and then the 6 weeks of expenses, so that was covered in these. So Valentine's Day, I usually don't use these funds, but I like to budget for it, and then if I don't use them, then they will go toward the student loan at the end of the month. But I'm going to go ahead and budget $40 for Valentine's Day. I'm going to go ahead and add up the priorities here. So total for that, $195 plus $22.50 plus $44.99 plus $556 plus $295 equals $1,113.49. Now, if I thought that these two were going to be really close to my income, then I would add those up and figure it out, but I'm not that close and there's not that much that I'm adding to that. So $40, so just adding these 3 pieces together, $17.55 plus 1113.49 plus $40. So I'm showing $29.08.49. Trying to figure out where I want to put this number. So pretty. All right, we'll put it down here. So total was 2908.49, and then take my income minus all of the expenses will be, so income minus expense will equal $991.50. 2151. So if you do zero-based budgeting, you would want to now put a name to this amount of money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little wiggle room because it is a long month, so 6 weeks. I have to make it till March 6th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take slush money out of this, and I'm just going to make it an even amount. So the amount that's going to student loans that I know about we're going to call it overpayment, is going to be $970. And then that will leave me $2151 to have a little bit of wiggle room in the budget, along with the $7.97 that I took off of my income. And that way, if there is a little bit over on the oil change or something like that, then I can kind of budget for that. Then at the end of the month, whatever needs to be adjusted up here, so like my rent is never $950, my electric is never $100. So if I have a little bit left over from that, I'll bring it over here, and then whatever's left over, I will send back to the student loans again. So I kind of pay an overpayment twice per month toward my student loans, hopefully. So that is the February budget. So talking about the student loans, let's kind of do an update on that loan situation. Quick loan update. Basically, I'm working on my second loan for my second degree. So it goes to Great Lakes Loans. I plan to pay it off in April. The original loan amount was $4,500. The balance at the beginning of the year on the 13th was $3,628.62. Whenever I start the year, I rebalance my sinking funds and my emergency fund. And whenever I rebalanced that, I had some money left over. So that paid for my state taxes that I owed. It paid for my tax prep software. It also paid for my continuing education for my second career. And so what was left over from all of that was $850. So I paid that on the 21st. My regular payment, because it wasn't adjusted, is $81.14, and that'll come out in a couple days. So I went ahead and put that there. I would put on here, probably can't see it, but kind of in pencil, I put the $970 I plan to do now that I've created my budget. So that'll leave $1,727.48. That would be the remaining balance. Of course, there's going to be interest and that sort of thing. I also know my federal income tax return should be $700 and some odd dollars. So I just made it even at $700. So that'll leave $1,027.48 left. And then that will go probably into the March budget. There will be a regular payment between there of $81. And then hopefully in the March budget, I can pay this off. So that's why I'm hoping to have an earlier payoff than April, but we will have to see what the income in February is to be able to set up that March budget. So that is how I set up the February budget. So now let's stuff some envelopes. Now I actually only stuff my grocery bill and my laundry. Everything else is auto-paid through my bank. So I don't really have that many envelopes that I do stuff. But we'll go ahead and stuff the groceries and the laundry. Okay, so whenever I go to the bank, I go ahead and try to give them the denominations that I need. So I needed $390 for my grocery bill, and I took out $60 in quarters for my laundry, because I'm hoping that I don't need the full 80 that I budgeted for, but I can always go back to the bank and get those if I need it. So it is in the budget. And then because I do $65 per week for the groceries, I need 3 20s and 1 5 per week so that I can break it up into the $390 that I need for the 6 weeks. So once they give me that amount, let me go ahead and kind of organize these. There's not a lot of organization that has to happen. So the 5s and the 20s. Now, whenever you take out the amount for an entire month, it can be easy to take a little too much, and then by the end of the month, you've run out of money and you still have more months to go. So the way I combat that is I break it up into the weeks. So I put 65 and then just organize it that way. So 65 and 5, 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 and 65 and 5. So once I do that, basically what I do is today starts my month. So this week I can use $65, and then the other remaining amount I put a paperclip on. And that tells me that amount I can't use until those weeks come. And then I only have 65 to use between now and next Friday. And then next Friday, whenever it comes around, I go into this bundle and I take out the next $65. And then whatever I had left over from the first week, I add that 65 new amount to that amount, and then that's the amount I can use for that week. So by the end of the month, that last week, I still have $65 available to me. So that way it kind of paces me through the month. And I do that whether it's 6 weeks or 4 weeks. It just helps me pace so that I don't run out of money before I run out of month. So that is how I break up that. And then the laundry, I just put 1 roll of quarters, or I start out with 2 rolls of quarters, and then I kind of add a roll every week to my laundry bag, so that paces my laundry as well. So that is how I stuff my envelopes. I just use a Dave Ramsey financial piece. I keep it at my house and then I pull it before I go to the grocery store. It also helps me not have my money available. There are like barriers to purchase that I like to say. So that way I have a grocery buying problem. And that way I have to actually go back and consciously grab my money and take it to the grocery store rather than just having it readily available. And then that starts getting where I pull from other weeks' budgets and that sort of thing. So it just helps me stay on track. So that is how I budget. I got this envelope, cash envelope system from Dave Ramsey whenever I did the Financial Peace University course, and he has fillers and that sort of thing in his on his website, and I will link that in the description as well. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but just so you have options. But there are plenty of pretty options on like Etsy and all kinds of other shops. So you can do the cash envelope system as well. Some people take out all of their expenses, and I just use the ones that I really need cash for. Otherwise, I'm just going to go over budget. So that is how I do my February budget. All right, so I know that was probably a long video explaining my February budget, but it is 6 weeks long, so it gets some extra time, right? Anyway, I hope this helps, and I hope we all have a great February budget month, and I will see you in the next one. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week.